Hello, dear friends, dear chess lovers. Today we start our new format of the videos. We are going to comment the most important events in chess world, and we are lucky to catch today the second mini match between world champion Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura, one of the best chess players in the world. Welcome to our stream. Welcome to Chesny Hot YouTube channel. You can see several windows on your screen. The left-hand side video will be the first transmission. We are getting the moves from the match, which is starting in 4 minutes, and chess-based format video in the middle, closer to right-hand side, where I will make kind of comments and demonstrate the lines for you. So let's talk about the situation, because we are definitely rooting for my friend Magnus Carlsen. You see, I'm in Magnus t-shirt today, and unfortunately and very unexpectedly, he lost 1.5 to 2.5 yesterday versus Hikaru in a very painful manner. He lost in dominating position in a game of one of the Vienna variation. I just can demonstrate the line and how it was yesterday. Some kind of the side and random style line. He takes c4, e4, b5. Magnus was well prepared and he got a very pleasant position, but then what is happening in rapids, what is very often happening in rapids, unfortunately he did not control the situation till the end and lost the exchange, and then he could continue, but in time troubles he lost the full control, so unexpectedly. And I would say it was the Hikaru win in Magnus style, in general in Magnus style. But today is another day, and from my personal experience, seeing of world champion, the next day after defeat, he's double or 3 times more dangerous than before. We all remember his tournament in London in Grandchester final several years ago, where he had to win after the defeat in the last round to win the tournament. He amazingly done that. So today I think it will be a very dangerous walk for Hikaru, and we are about to start. It's 1 minute to game. I check the transmission if it's already there. So not yet. Waiting for the moves. Waiting when transmission is going to be started. Feel free to write in chat. I'm trying to follow all possible softs I have. At the moment I have 4 programs opened, and feel free to ask any questions about the match, about the personalities, about my personal experience being with them. So yeah, Magnus starts with white, and here we are. d4, knight f6, c4 played. I believe they might continue the fight from yesterday. Kind of very principal opening line. Yes, they went for the same. They went for the same in Vienna variation. e4, b5, e5, knight d5, knight b5, knight b6, and a4. This is, at least to me, this is the sideline I'm used for, kind of very typical, and Magnus actually played the typical setup with bishop e2, bishop e3, knight c3, but today a4. For this match, I'm not completely sure in general, but for this match, this is the novelty. Hikaru replied immediately, so it means he's still in his prep. Queen d7, bishop e2, knight c6, castle, knight a5. So the guys are blitzing. It means both are still following their books, and there is even no moment to comment. But let's stop a bit here. After knight a5, what black is hoping for? They have very strong pawn on c4 and outpost on b3. They try to control all the light squares in the center, so potentially if they manage to establish all the blockade because of some space advantage here, it will be a very nice pressure in the center. They will go through the d file, attacking the d4 pawn. King is more or less safe. So white, from their side, there are two ways of playing. First way is to attack the c4 pawn. Second way is try to start some play on the king side. Magnus went for knight g5, and they, according to their timing, they're just by every move they're increasing their time, like it's 5 seconds per move increment. Knight g5, h6, knight e4. So a little stop here. White is preventing black from playing c5 and trying to establish the control over the d6 square. So now for black it's more difficult to push this c pawn, these double c pawns. Pawn are still weak, and even with the space advantage, they're much better, I would say. In case they would have been normally placed, since they're weak for sure. I'm just not in time even to annotate the game clearly. They're still blitzing, and I believe this is the theory after bishop b7. I was not ready for such a deep prep from their side in a sideline. I repeat, this is the sideline 8th move of a4, and they both are coming very fast. Now the knight was hanging, and black is provoking white to decide what they're going to do in the center. From strategical perspective, it's very unpleasant for white to change the light squared bishops. So I would say this bishop f3, and anyway white is going to play knight c5 sooner or later. After this bishop f3, they would have changed the light squared bishops as well. So, and then it will be in the end after potential knight c5. I will just demonstrate you. Knight c5, bishop takes c5, and then bishop takes f3. Not like this. Chess base, come on. Don't make some other troubles to me. Yeah, after changing knights and bishops, it will be a very nice pair of knights with outpost on d5 for black. For bishop f3 is not good for white to change the light squared bishops. Hence, Magnus immediately played knight c5. They are gaining some time after every move, so it's still the theory, and bishop c5 is forced. It was the fork. The last move, it was the fork for bishop and queen. So bishop takes c5, d takes c5, knight d5, rook a3. Seems both guys are still prepared. a6. The knight on b5 seems to me was very annoying already, because black is trying to... Let's stop for a second. What black wants to do? They definitely want to secure their king. King is really unhappy in the center. So, but the problem of black, that in case of castling, it's all the time, for instance, instead of a6 here, it's all the time the troubles on the king side, because I have rook, I have bishop, queen potentially. All the pieces are around the black's king. So I would say after the castle, maybe it's rook g3 at once, but I usually start the calculations, my checks with sacrifices. Bishop takes h6, g takes h6, then rook g3, and I think black is around being lost. They play king h7 just not to lose immediately. We provoke the queen c2 check, king h8 anyway forced, because in case of f5 it will be e takes f6, king h8 followed by rook g7. So this line is lost. And after king h8, this is a double threat. The knight on a5 is hanging and the pawn on h6 is hanging, and I believe there is no hope for black in this line. So we just decided that it's impossible to castle short. To castle long, you know, it's also very insecure because, at least at the moment, the pawn is hanging. But if we forget a pawn for a second, if we forget about knight takes a7, then even without knight takes a7, look around. Weakness, 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 and just the black's king hairdress is not really perfect, what I would say. Knight takes a7 in this line possible, but maybe by playing a6, Hikaru prepares to castle long afterwards, because this pawn and light square bishop, those pieces give nice opportunities to hide, maybe potentially on a file. So the white structure of this a4, b2, c5 pawns, white structure is just also very weak. I can't move b4, I can't move c6. The pawns are not connected in between. Formally, of course, this is the only one pawn island. However, it looks like three separated pawns. So after a6, I suppose they're prepared for long castle. Knight d4 has been played. Of course, not knight c3. I think it's not in white's favor to change the queens after knight takes c3, or even in case of other option, knight b4, potentially with having this d3 out. Sorry, this d3 outpost when knight might jump. Of course, Magnus played after a6, knight d4. Knight keeps control over c6 square, maybe pushing c6 potentially, playing on both sides. There is rook g3 still, so Magnus wants to play rook g3. This is a real threat, like rook g3. As far as I could have been following, we have the time management, like 10 seconds per move, 4 seconds per move. They are still in a book. And this is the first moment when Hikaru started to think after knight d4, and he played knight e7. I can explain this move, because after knight e7, black starts the control over long diagonal. It might be now threatening like long castle followed by knight a5, but in general, black requires to change the knights and probably to change the light square bishops. Also, black reminds that the pawn on a5 is pretty weak. It might be like knight c6 and the pawn is hanging, but not now, just potentially, since the knight on a5 is insecure. Also, after knight d4, Magnus has been threatening to play bishop d2, as I usually say, to ask the documents from the knight on a5, because knight on a5 is nicely placed, but not perfectly, in case he's not able to jump on b3. So after bishop d2, there is a problem with the knight on a5, and of course Hikaru had to keep this in mind. Therefore, by playing knight e7, he's preventing bishop d2, knight on d4 is hanging. I just demonstrate it. And he prepares to jump knight c6 in case of need, and also knight f5 and long castle. Black has some counterplay for their weak pawn structure. Who would I choose? You know, I'm analyzing now. I'm following the game same as you, without any computer, any engine. Otherwise, it would have not been very interesting. In case I input Lila or some other engine, I would get really smart, like some other commentators who's just reading the engine science. But I don't think it's human chess. So we still try to be human, even in current world. So after 97, how I would have played here? Anyway, I have to disturb the guy on a5. Therefore, it looks like queen d2, which Magnus did, is logical. Knight on a5 is hanging. For queen d2, he spent 1 minute. So I think somewhere around here the book is already finished. And the guy started to think at the moment. Let me check about the timing. Yeah, it's written like Magnus has 16 minutes and Hikaru has 11 minutes. Knight is hanging. In case of knight c6, I believe Magnus is ready to play knight takes c6. Let's say queen takes d2, bishop d2, knight takes c6, and then even I'm not sure in this move, but I like to play bishop c3. You know, by this move I completely cut the knight, so I control all the squares and I even guard the pawn on e5. And next move, nobody will prevent me from playing bishop takes c4. What else? After queen d2, I usually teach my students to take a look at the moves back as the last opportunity in the position. So we have to find some creative moves forward, some kind of moves which are threatening or searching for counterplay. And Hikaru, after 4 minutes thinking, has done one of those moves. He had threatened the mate. Now it's hanging on g2 and hanging on c5. So it's impossible to grab the knight. In case of bishop f3, I have no much belief in this move. I would explain a bit later why. Because after queen takes c5, so strategically we're just going to exchange the last possible piece, yeah? Bishop takes b7, knight takes b7, bishop is guarded, black is pawn up, and I don't see direct threats in this position. There is one provocation after queen d5, bishop f3, queen takes c5. Usually, I believe Magnus is thinking about something like this. Usually, we have to check some tricks like b4, allowing to take c takes b3, but then knight takes b3. And I'm wrong again, because after knight takes b3, the queen is hanging. So my plan by capturing on b7 is not going to be correct, since my queen is hanging. And what to do? And after rook takes b3, it's even worse than in previous variation. Of course, I have some potential threat of playing bishop a3, but seems to me it doesn't look perfect. At least because the other pawn is hanging on e5 in some of the lines. So black might get ready first, entering rook into the play. But you know, it's... I'm still thinking about, because bishop a3, it's very annoying when king is still uncastled. So in case of castle, white is always playing bishop a3 and knight on e7 is hanging. Very difficult to say. Maybe what else after b4? Maybe after b4 c takes b3. Aha! Now I start to understand. Maybe there is bishop takes b7 from Magnus' side, what keeps in mind. After knight takes b7, it's rook takes b3. Now knight is under attack, and then it's bishop a3. So I can maybe modify my previous variation to this line. However, it's queen d5, yeah, and it also requires the calculation, because now black wants to play knight c5, and they guarded the knight on b7. However, there is a trick. I see the trick, and we have to check it. It's knight takes e6. What a pleasant thing, yeah? In the line knight takes e6, queen takes b3, it's knight c7. Definitely black is not going for that. And in all other lines, the knight on b7 is hanging back. For instance, this, and rook b7. What is this? I think even here black is fine. They just play king d7. Very nice outpost on d5. I don't think that they are better, but definitely they are not worse. White has to play something very fast like f4, g4, f5 to organize some counterplay there. But it's not easy. You know, when you're getting such a move like queen d5, these are the lines which you have to calculate. The other option, let me check first, how did Magnus play it after queen d5? He didn't, yeah? He still did not play. He's thinking. I believe he's calculating this line, because it's pretty forced to play bishop f3 followed by b4, which we just take a look. The other try is rook g3, of course, to guard on g2 and to threaten on g7. What I think about that? Actually, Magnus lost yesterday that painful game after grabbing the g7 pawn. I don't think it was necessary to grab this pawn. So today I have no much belief that he's coming for rook g3 against the castle. Before he castles, it doesn't look like a serious threat. Rook takes g7, it's only pawn. So while the rook is on g3, Hikaru has a pleasant choice, to be honest, very pleasant choice. Maybe knight b3, maybe knight c6. To me, it looks like most active move forcing to change the pieces is knight b3, knight takes b3, c takes b3. Offering to trade the queens. White will not do. White is playing queen c3, and maybe after bishop f3 there is a very serious threat. I'm not sure how black might prevent this. I think this position is lost. So my suggestion of knight b3 is kind of horrible. So what else? Yeah, the simplest way. First, let's check the. We have forgotten about the pawn on c5 for 1 second. Let's check queen takes c5. Queen takes c5, and now after rook g7, white is losing the piece, I believe. This threat of long castle is coming. It's threatening on d4, and the worst case I would add the jump using the pin on d-file. There is knight f5 jump. So after queen c5, is there any trick to play b4? Not yet. Then why did we have played rook g3? Because after before c takes b3, we are coming to similar position as I suggested in previous line. So from my side, that's no, Magnus just played rook g3. So my bet was maybe these complications with bishop c3, queen c5. Not sure what Tangent says, but it could have been very interesting. Yeah, let's go back to the game. Rook g3. So interesting. What is world champion's idea in case of queen c5? You know, he's a tricky guy. He's always sees more than the opponents. This is what I learned, and he's very fast. When I worked in Norway for several years, I remember we had a meeting in Antaga chess school where Magnus was invited, and I just shown him one mate in 4, one pretty famous mate in 4, and he spent about 10 seconds to solve it. So the speed of thinking of his mind is incredible. Queen c5. Let's look for some tricks. One of the tricks which I see is queen e3. Move looks weird. I don't like it, but I prepare kind of discover threat. Knight takes e6, and after queen takes e3, there is one more intermediate jump. But I don't think it's working because of long castle. And queen on e3 is misplaced since all this knight d5 stuff is coming. So rook g3. Queen takes c5. Interesting if Hikaru already played. Yeah, Hikaru played queen c5, and yeah, this is the world champion style. I could not even guess this move. So he found b4, which we considered, but I stopped after c takes b3, but now it's bishop a3. Wow. Bishop a3, simply forcing Hikaru to play queen takes a3. I suppose other option is queen e5. The move still did not happen. The time management. Magnus is 4 minutes left. Nakamura has 10 minutes. But it was a really critical moment. So that was the moment where you are close to get in troubles. In case you're playing wrong, the position might get simply worse or even lost because the structure is disbalanced and all the pieces are kind of hanging in the air. Before c takes b3, bishop a3. So I just automatically I say Hikaru has to play queen a3, but maybe not. Maybe there is queen e5. There is other option which we have to calculate. Since we are in troubles, in time troubles, I'm just going to check it briefly. Yeah, nothing yet. Queen takes e5. We might, of course, we might play bishop takes e7, but after bishop takes e7, there is king e7, and white has a very unpleasant check. Of course, there is a check of queen b4. But even if I play, what can I play? I can play c5. But c5, queen takes a5, queen takes d4, and interesting actually, very interesting position. In case white will manage to play something like queen c7, it will be game over. But now after queen c7, I have queen d7, queen c5, queen d6, and then most probably it's very pleasant for black. So I have to prepare queen c7 check by playing rook d1 first, but then black might simply control the c7 square. I suppose b2 is not working because of rook takes d4, b1 queen, rook d1 back, so it's good for me. I have to play maybe queen e5 or queen b4. In case of playing queen e5, it's rook b3, and there is queen e2, rook b7. Difficult to calculate, you know. It looks like almost winning for white. It always might end like almost nothing, and king is just slowly walking away. And looks like black is almost done, but maybe there is no mate. And then what are you talking about? And then Grandmaster Romanov saying complete crap. But looks extremely dangerous for black. So I like this bishop a3 move. Queen c5, bishop e7, king e7, queen b4. What else we have to check? Maybe this just dubious king e. Looks very dubious. But you know, king is safe on e8. Of course, I can try like rook e3, but then queen g5, just perpetual threat because of queen g2. What else I can try? I can try to punch by f4, but this move is also very unclear because black has kind of intermediate move playing c5. Queen takes a5 and queen d4 check, and there is some extra tempo for securing the king. So many options, and we still did not discuss this bishop takes a3. Yeah, this is what Hikaru played. You know, even if queen e5 is not losing, you can imagine how painful to grab this pawn, because apart from the moves I mentioned, it's f4 as the candidate, it's rook e3 as the candidate, it's queen b4 as the candidate. When you are getting simply headache, especially in rapid chess, after so many opportunities of the opponent, that all this looks extremely dangerous. Just like maybe close being lost. Therefore, your initial feeling after, I believe, Hikaru or did not see or maybe underestimated or difficult to say. I believe since they both analyzed the position, Hikaru knew the before bishop a3 idea. As the idea, maybe not in concrete moment, but he knew this before bishop a3. But his initial feeling is just to trade some pieces, and after queen takes a3 to try to get the a bit safer situation on board. He played bishop d5 since the pawn on b3 was hanging. What shall we say about position? Black is one move away from securing their king. In case black to move, it's castle and white isn't stuck. But white to move, and Magnus immediately played, or not immediately, Magnus actually spent a couple of minutes and he played rook g7. He did not like the move. You know, when you have 3 minutes left and you're playing rook takes g7, it's something behind. So you are not like 100% sure. Maybe he did not like king f8 giving the g file potentially, because unexpectedly king on f8 looks very very nicely. Maybe king f8. My feeling is just to provoke the rook to go back. Let's say rook g3 and then to play c5, something like this. Of course, scared to blunder the mate in one somewhere, but not yet. And knight takes b3, bishop takes b3, rook b1. I don't think that's very serious, at least. Not because of c4. c4, it's bishop takes c4, but maybe there are some moves like queen a4. Simply, I'm grabbing the pawn and queen is under attack. Or there is no time for white to grab the bishop. Just by hand, I like king f8 move, and if I'm not blundering, I evacuate. I just provoke the rook from g7 to go back. But it was played after rook g7 c5. Already many moves are done. We have to be very fast. Magnus did not consider the move back, because then king f8 and just the same what I suggested, with very strong pawns, but with very weak, very bad pieces placement for white. So of course it's sacrifice. It's bishop h5, c takes d4. Hikaru took the piece. Rook takes f7 and king d7. So friends, what should I say? I have a very tough feeling for Magnus. This is an amazing threat, yeah. He just played queen g4 and bishop g4, and he's threatening queen takes d5. Very nice. Knight after queen takes d5, knight is pinned and pawn is pinned. So just simply bishop is hanging. But the problem that after bishop g4, it's black to move, and there is some time to play. There is no c file yeah, queen keeps the control, and yeah, but there are a lot of tricks. So I'm not sure that Hikaru was correct allowing all this stuff, because now he thinks I play king c6, then rook e7, of course. Queen takes e7 and rook c1. And it might be ended in a painful way. After king d7, simply queen takes d5. Yeah, and after king b7, I suppose it's something, but now I take a look and I see that there is nothing, just absolutely nothing. We can't grab on d5, and interesting. Then what is the point after king c6? I've guarded the bishop. The knight is guarded by queen. Hikaru has Magnus is 1.5 minutes left. Hikaru has 5 minutes. Plenty of time to think. My feeling is very negative for white, because it seems to me they don't have enough compensation. The pieces are not connected in between, so there are just some tricks. And no rook c1 check. B pawn is almost queen. So if there is nothing immediately, then it's just completely nothing. It's lost. After king c6. I check the chart. Maybe you suggest something to me? Hmm? So not getting the messages in chat yet. We are back to the game. It was played king c6, bishop takes e6, bishop e6, rook f6, king d7, and queen b6. So it looks like the final trick, or a kind of very, very last chance for Magnus. But you never know. You never know. There is no d6 square, you see, that it's simply controlled by queen, and after bishop d5, as it has been played in a game. I'm not seeing anything serious from the white side. One more check. King e8, I believe. Maybe king c8 also fine enough. Not seeing what Magnus is hoping for. Mm-hmm. King e8, king c8. There is no single check in both ways. After king c8, now rook d5, knight d5, queen c6. I have this jump. Knight guards everything. There is still no c1 square and no single check. So both moves currently, I think there is no compensation. The champion is just around being lost. Even here, even with a check on c6, even if I'm giving this knight on d5, but then I simply enter one of the rooks. I don't know, this one, or maybe there is a check on b7, so maybe just rook b8 first. There is even no single check. Ooh la la. What are we getting? Yeah, the first game with white, and almost immediately some serious troubles for world champion. I think he was doing nice, but it's simply a matter of time that he did not find the correct way how to proceed in that position. Queen b7 has been played in a game. King e6, queen c6 back. So the king might walk in all the possible ways, I believe. But I think Hikaru comes via f5. But I would say, just again, from black's feeling, king c8 looked like nicer way to just to secure the king. Difficult to say what would have been happened there. And now after queen c6, Hikaru has to think. Time is equal. Magnus played extremely fast. Now the time management is good for him. About 2 minutes both. And Hikaru has to decide how he is going forward. King takes e5. The dangerous move because of rook e1 check, knight e3, f takes e3, but maybe here simply d3 just to avoid all the checks. Simply d3 to close the position. Rook f1, rook f8, no e file, no d file. After e4, it's rook d8, no single check on board. I think Hikaru simply takes a little time to decide. Yeah, it was the position was repeated once. King e7, queen b7, king e6 back, queen c6. Magnus repeats. There is nothing to do for him. And Hikaru about to decide what to do. I think king e5, in case I'm not blundering anything serious. Ah, maybe there is a 4 check. Now, when you're playing versus world champion, there's always something behind. Yeah, it's easy to get mated, like slowly mated. Something like queen g6, king e3, rook f3, and crap. It's already made. Yeah, like one move to be once misconcentrated, one wrong move, and it's over. So now you see, I suggested king e5, but maybe f4. And that's it. After knight f4, some other check, king f5, some other check, and it's already very unclear what would happen. But we know we are getting the moves. After queen c6, king f5, queen takes d5, queen e7. So finally, Hikaru decided not to take this this pawn. He allowed queen takes d5. Played queen e7. Now we are in blitz time management, so e6 check. There are some checks. Magnus is playing extremely fast. King g6, he's gaining the time. Queen e4, king g7, queen d4. So many checks. King g8. Other option was queen d6, I believe. Queen f6 was also close being winning. After queen f6, I don't know why. King g8. Yeah, maybe there. Now there is no single check. Queen g4, queen g7, and champion takes some threats. Queen g7 and then queen c4, threatening e7. e7 check. And I have to ask what is afterwards. Even if he's playing e7, I have king h7. So just preliminary, I played b2. Let's guess this line. e7, king h7, queen e4, queen g6. And there is no e8 square, or both of my rooks controlling that. So it was played as we predicted before. f4 played Magnus. Hikaru played rook b8. I suppose it's getting very close to the end of the game. Magnus is thinking. Hikaru is one of the best blitz players, so having 1 minute might be very critical for me, but not for him. And position is not very difficult at the moment, so what to suggest for white? Almost nothing. I guess you play queen b1. I suppose queen g6, rook b1, sorry, queen g6 would be played anyway. There's no, like, e7 is only one check. E7 is nothing more. And I don't see any other ways to stop the pawns. And of course, during the game, such moves like queen a2 we do not consider. After queen a2, black might play whatever they want already. After rook b8, game continued queen e4, rook h7. Card doesn't play b1, maybe even b1 is winning, but rook h7 securing the king, rook b1, queen b7, and Magnus resigns. Oof. Somewhere in live transmission, we can see, I mean, on official website of this tournament, we can see the reaction of Magnus. Usually, it's very, very remarkable. So he just throwing something into the wall or mouse or whatever, and I can easily understand his emotions and his feeling, because it looked very, very promising, and I think this idea of bishop a3 was brilliant in the game. But maybe he had to play bishop f3 with the same idea as I suggested. Or maybe objectively, from the computer's perspective, it's simply nothing for white. Even with such king on e8, even with all this stuff, it's simply nothing for white. Who knows? Because how it's continued with rook g3, queen c5, b4, c takes b3. Looks forced. Everything looks forced. Queen a3, queen a5, bishop d5. Maybe there is a chance here, but after so many sacrifices, white is definitely not been hoping to fight for the equality, like grabbing one pawn, trying to grab another. I mean, bishop f3, castle, take on d5, take on b3. But yeah, there is a compensation, but white is not. That's not the goal of white, to be honest, to play something like this. And of course, Magnus has been hoping for this sacrifice, but didn't manage. The players have a little break, I suppose, while we are waiting for resume of game number 2. So situation is getting more and more dangerous for the world champion. You are -1 today. You're -1 in a match, and you have only 3 games left. Only 3 games left. Even worse, 2 of them with black. Even worse, Hikaru is in amazing shape. So I just checked the chat and not getting your questions. Please don't hesitate. Write, ask, discuss. Follow our chat, our channel, while we are waiting for uh, for the next game. What shall I say? How I would behave in such a situation when I'm -1 and I have to get back. Definitely, I would have complicate in every next game. I really need to find the way to win the game, but this is also the Hikaru style, and it's going to be very interesting because Magnus will try all the possible chances. Now in every game, I would expect such openings like Pirk or Finsive system, maybe in case of D4 King's Indians or some Benoni style, uh, maybe Dutch Stonewall, uh, something very unexpected during the preparation from Hikaru's side, and at the same time uh, something not central, not central openings, which will not allow Hikaru Nakamura to change the pieces. Because of course, after such a win in first game, such a win with Black, he will definitely try to be as safe as possible. Definitely control all the board and all possible pieces exchange. So one of the problems which I have to mention from Magnus' side in this game was the time management. Seems like it was definitely a very long prep, but afterwards he had no feeling of the position. He tried to be principled with this a4 move, but Hikaru was prepared. That definitely been unexpected from the world champion side or his team side. And we are waiting for the next game. I will be resumed shortly. I will prepare the window for us. Yes, here it is. Hikaru is with white. Some time ago I was asked about the dangerous opponents for the world champion, and I named Hikaru as one of them because it looked to me like they had absolutely different style at some point. Hikaru played some weird stuff before he started playing Queen's Gambit. He played, compared to Magnus, amazingly sharp, not sharp, tricky maybe, and strategical or kind of lines, which we can't call as the classical chess, but it was already a few years ago. Since that time, as far as I know, some openings been advised to Hikaru. He modified his style a bit. He became more accurate. He started making more draws. He became more central player, and from strategical perspective, it's already not so easy to outplay him for Magnus. Even their personal score some time ago was like plus many. I don't know how many, but many points. Uh, Now it's not. It's not like this. Now it's different. Um, the games very tight and uh, very close, I would say. I think according to regulations, it's something about 10 minutes break. But as far as we know, there was plenty of disconnections during this tournament. Not only from Dink side once versus Magnus, and that's amazing fair play, played Queen G5, Queen D2, but also from Magnus. Magnus got disconnected once, and as far as I know, the game was resumed afterwards. Um, let me ask you, and just write your comments in our chat. If you've been following all the matches, all the games of this tournament, uh, as the professionals, like, have you been rooting for a concrete player, just analyzing his games, following his games, or not? Or you take only like critical match, this is the decisive match, this is the decisive game, let's go through. Waiting for your answers and waiting for the game. Let me say some words about my personal experience being in company with the world champion. We played together some tournaments in youth, some youth tournaments many years ago. Uh, First time we met, I would say, like kind of players already who achieved something in this life. In 2013, in the time when I moved to Norway to work with the Norwegian youth team, followed by working with the Norwegian national team. So personality of Magnus for close people is very polite. He uh, We played also as the team members of Vålerenga Chess Club a couple of years ago, back in 2018 in European Club Cup. Uh, he was always supportive person, a very kind person. We never felt like we are talking with a superstar or with the world champion. Uh, been walking together, talking together, eating together, discussing everything together, sharing some ideas from all the sides. Um, he was not arrogant. I know that there's some rumors about the world champion about his behavior in society, but I think the people around him almost never can say something bad. So he depends on the day, of course, but he politely respects the personality of other players. I start getting worried a bit since the game is has not started. Maybe they decided to start exactly at 5 Central European time. Then we have 5 minutes more. Maybe they start in the final the games every single hour, like at 4, at 5, at 6, at 7, followed by Armageddon. I hope we will see the Armageddon today, because Magnus, as the personality with an amazing fighting spirit, will definitely try to score back. What to say about Hikaru? With Hikaru, officially, we played one game back in 1999. I remember I was leading in Youth World Championship, and he was half a point behind that time. And he played something like very. You can maybe see this game in databases, or it's not the best what I really want to show, but what to do? Let's take the guy's age 11 years old, so to have some fun now. But maybe that game slightly changed my life, all in all. I remember I had a very nice feeling before the game, and I was kind of very, very classical player. I played versus Hikaru Scotch. It was a very, very central opening, and I felt, come on, this guy knows nothing. What is he doing? What is that? Like centralizing the pieces. Yeah, I show you now. It was like this. I'm black, Nakamura white, and the game is the tragicomedy. He took. I played Queen f6, Bishop e3. Unexpectedly, like I never seen something like this. Bishop takes e3, f e3, d takes c6, and then he played Queen d4. Okay, we are very young. I say, what is this? What is the e4, e3 pawn? What is that? So Queen g6, Knight c3, Bishop d7. Very bad move already. Long castle, but I can explain. Here I considered like I could not understand what White is hoping with such a bad pawn structure. Now, of course, I understand. I made a long castle, and that's very uncommon even for like 2200. Such a weak player who I was in that age in 1999, 22, 30, 50. I don't remember exactly. And I calculated, okay, I am potentially threatening to the queen, and he's playing queen a4, threatening to a7, and I completely forgotten that he might take queen takes a7. And then it was over, since it is coming. That was maybe one of my mostly famous and huge disasters I've ever experienced in my life. I don't remember if I've been crying so loudly any time afterwards. But this is my personal experience versus Hikaru, and I would say I would never feel to repeat it again. What? The game 2.3, Magnus white again. It was something wrong with the transmission. I don't understand. Just give me a second, please. What's happened? Because on official web portal, it's written the game number 3 while we have been talking about. I can't believe that they have already finished the game. Let me check. What is that? Yes, it's written 1.5, 1.5. What is that? Crap. Seems Magnus simply given up one game away, and he wants to continue with white. So he has no belief in black's play. But let me please check on some of the portals. What's happened in that game, because we simply missed it. To me, it looked like the game did not resume, so it was played extremely fast. Extremely fast. I'm trying to find some information on internet. In case you've been following somewhere else, please drop me a message in chat. Trying to understand what's going on. Have to go to the official web portal. Maybe something is there. Aha. Yeah, the game has been played in less than 1 minute, so therefore we missed it. And just no words. It's not chess. It's not for fun, but we have to understand the guys. I show the game now how it has been played. It was Berlin system. You can see it now on a small screen. Very famous drawish line. Knight f6. Castle. Knight takes e4. I remind that Magnus was black, and I don't know what he expected. Maybe he expected from Hikaru a bit different fight, or maybe simply he did not want to fight in this game. So he has much belief, and it's coming very principle, very principle for both guys, that opening which Hikaru tries to play from game to game. So they just went to this. Knight takes b5, a4. This line I have seen like hundreds of times in my life. And even without comments, they finished the game here. I would say it's a bit disrespectful to auditorium, to spectators, because we are waiting for some fight. We are looking for some blood. Maybe it was really doubtful for Hikaru to try to play for win with white, so leading in a match. Usually in such situations, we are talking about Kaisa, about the goddess of chess, who is definitely punishing chess players for such a behavior when you're making a draws with white. But I would say as higher level you are, as less superstitious you are. So if we compare the situation from Hikaru's side was just decided I'm +1. Why should I take a risk? Especially after a tough game when you've been walking with a king all over the board. From Magnus' side, he said to himself, all right, I just lost, but I believe in my position and I will most probably check what Hikaru prepared. And I think the Magnus team, Peter Heine and others, are working during the match, and he had already received some perhaps some new knowledge about this opening. I hope we will see this Vienna variation, which has been played in this match before in several games, again. So because it's coming principle and it gives us a chance for the new development of the variation. And Magnus is definitely expecting some other lines from the guys at the moment, and I'm pretty sure he got already the new prep. Concerning Hikaru, I think he was working in this line very, very long time, and I hope he will stay principal and play it on. Also depends on his team what they prepare and tells, but I think Hikaru believes in his black pieces, and now in case he doesn't lose, it will be very close to win the match. So very close to the victory. Therefore, as less pressure from the world champion, as less games you play, as easier to continue on high level uh, with the games which left for us tonight. So very, very practical, guys. Of course, we have to keep in mind that they're tired playing so many days in a row, even with one rest day. And of course, they're just trying to. I'm checking if the game 3 has started, not yet. Of course, they're trying to get some rest in between the games, what is not very much easy. And we are ready for the game number 3 for tonight. Interesting, what are your bets? My bet is Magnus slightly changes the opening, demonstrates some prep, and I think this is the moment for champion uh, to think his name is Kais as well. So it's time to punish Hikaru for such a short draw with white pieces even without fight. I suppose they're about to start, maybe in some minutes. waiting for resuming of the game, and still waiting for your questions. Do not forget to sign up for our channel. It will be, as more you follow us, as more interesting things you will learn. I believe it will come some new videos about the approach of chess, about some interesting, memorable games. And of course, please, I'm waiting for your questions. When you're seated alone, unfortunately, my partner Miroslav Vlasenko did not manage to work with me tonight for some personal reasons, and being seated in the studio alone, talking for several hours without any support from the audience is kind of tough. Therefore, I need some topics to talk. I need to know about which things I have to talk. So I share my personal plans, maybe that after some time I'm leaving Russia and going back to Europe. I have something to do, let's call, in Germany and then Norway. Let's hope that the new wave of the pandemic will not happen, and the borders will be opened again. So hope to see you in some tournaments in Europe. Hope to play good chess again. Hope to play the new leagues, and I feel hungry for chess after real time. Maybe this is the longest break in my career. I did not play yet any single serious game, classical game, in 2020. More than 8 months, and since I missed playing the classical games in December, so it means already 9 months without real chess practice. Just playing some internet stuff, some ACP cups, maybe some rapids, time to time some blitz games. So I really feel hungry to touch the pieces, even with all the restrictions and even with the current situation of this pandemic. And the game resumed. You see, I was wrong. It's c4 and English opening. So the guys decided to switch, and actually I don't know who. Magnus started c4 and Hikaru did not play e6. Both decided to play something new. So Magnus went for English, c4, e5, g3, knight f6, just completely new type of the positions. Bishop g2, d5, it's still the theory. C takes d5, knight takes d5, knight f3, knight c6, the classical stuff which we know for many years. Castle, knight b6, b3. Haha! This sideline I played many times, even in Norwegian League, against known players. Let me think. It was the Grandmaster from Sweden, I suppose. Maybe it was Hans Tikkanen. I might get wrong. But I played this line against a very good guys. So also I played it versus Ilyas Mirin on our Float Open. I played many times with b3, bishop b2. The idea of white that they don't demonstrate the position of their knight on b1. So the knight potentially might go, what I expect, via d2 to e4, and from e4 it might be to c5, or might be to g5. And in case black is playing something very typical like a5 in their setup, then my knight via d2 will come to c4. So, and after knight c4, I'm provoking to decide what black is going to do with knight on b6. So it's kind of, I can't call it mainstream, but kind of interesting system, which gives white some side ideas which will definitely not be analyzed as the mainstreams, and not so popular as the other openings on the top level. It's just free play, like free game, and Magnus tries to play very fast, and here he makes after bishop e6 queen c2. Again, a little surprise for me, because I'm trying to understand what is queen c2. Maybe just, no, come on. I thought potentially some knight g5 jump pawn on h7 is hanging. What the queen is doing on c2? What's the idea? To play queen e4? Attacking on e5, but then 5 is happening. What is the queen c2? Since the queen on c2 is just objectively, I can't call it as nicely placed. Queen on c2 after knight d4 under the tempo, after knight b4 under the tempo. Maybe white is preparing something extremely fast. Maybe Magnus wants to play not queen c2, but maybe queen goes to b2 somewhere, and then rook goes to d1 and then d4, and bishop will be developed on that side. But you know, it's kind of very deep, very deep guesses, very deep ideas. I don't believe actually in the words I'm saying now, because queen c2 looks partly strange, but queen d7, rook d1. Maybe I was not so stupid. You know, just d4. Maybe he wants to play d4, and Hikaru castles long. So that's very nice. That's very nice. I'm as your commentator. I just feel it will be the bloody game. Knight c3, f6. Reversed dragon. Reversed dragon. And Magnus is thinking now. Hikaru spent 1 minute for last two moves, for the long castle and for the move f6. Reverse dragon, black is going to play g5, h5. They're simply rolling the pawns, and white has to show what they want on the queen side. Pawn on b3 looks strange for all the possible attacks there, because with the pawn on b3 it's more difficult even to start with a3 before it's at least one tempo down. Black has a very good control, so black did not make any extra move in the center. While Magnus think what I can suggest here. Of course, first we have to check some kind of the sacrifices, because after d4 it takes d4, knight b5. But I have no belief in that. After knight b5, there are even here, even I don't think e takes d4 is the best, but even here there are plenty of opportunities. Bishop f1 is one of the opportunities, followed by queen move and then d3, simply not giving the pawn cheap. White will have to pay their cost for this pawn, breaking the structure. But also, in case of d4, knight takes d4 is possible, and after knight d4, e4, there is no normal square for the knight. They have to play knight e4, but black is perfectly developed. So, what else? Hikaru tries to play as active opening as possible, since in slow play, in technical play, Magnus much better than him. I don't know, again, it's very difficult to compare, know how much, but this is the Magnus type of the positions, and Hikaru tries to take, in these matches, to take Magnus away from his plate. What else? Since d4 is not working, maybe immediately trying to deliver the knight to c5, at least to grab the pawn. I would play maybe knight e4 with the idea of knight c5, but when you make such a move like knight e4, you have to be very accurate, because now f5 with the tempo possible, knight g5, trade d4, and you might just, I don't know where it's the guy is going, you might simply get punished. In case jumping there, it's knight d4. I think it's already, without the development, already serious problems for white. In case of knight e5, I can even change the guys, queen e5, and all the pieces are central, and there is no any single hint for white how to attack. I don't know. It seems to me black made all the normal moves, and it can't be any serious problem. What did white do? We don't know. By the way, Magnus played d4, as it was one of my suggestions, and let's try to understand what Hikaru had in mind. So d4, two captures. It will be or knight d4 or e takes d4. Let's try to check the safest one. Knight takes d4. Knight takes d4, e takes d4. Knight e4. This is the square which I did not see. This is the square I mentioned as no square. Maybe even I'm a bit too fast. Maybe there is a trick here. Queen e4, threatening mate on b7, c6, and sacrifice of the exchange. You believe in that? Being honest, me not. Just king b8. After bishop f4, to show you the funny line, queen takes c6, but I definitely will not be blundered. In case of bishop d6, it's rook d1. You know, maybe it could have been interesting, but at least this is fine. At least. What else? I don't think this sacrifice with queen e4 working. And knight e4 with long-term compensation. Maybe he wants to play bishop b2 followed by rook takes d4. The knight is pretty good on e4. Hikaru responded very fast. Extremely. Just e takes d4, 20 seconds. Bishop b2, 1 minute. We are not as fast as the players there. I would say there is no much after bishop b2, no much belief for me. I would definitely take black. d4 and just given the pawn in combination with bishop b2, like to combine two different plans just to get this pawn back. I would definitely feel for for black here, but different stories to feel, to believe, and it's absolutely another story in chess is to prove it. What would I do? Bishop f5, knight e4, d3. This is what I want. In case of rook d3, it's bishop e4, game over. So e takes d3, and then I got this idiotic pawn on d3. I have to find some plan, but I have outpost on d5, and I don't know how much this is playable. Maybe this is simply slightly worse for white, but from opposite perspective, at least there is no attack. So knight b4, yeah, like Hikaru just played it after 2 minutes thinking so fast. Yeah, bishop f5 has been played. Magnus is thinking. So, but we are back to our line, knight e4, d3. E takes d3. And what is the black's plan? Concerning the structure, this is the isolated pawn, which is definitely weak for white. So a knight will come, we are b4 on d5 all the time. Or maybe it would be great, of course, to input it to d4, but I don't see it's possible. So even if I play bishop g4, after d4 it's bishop f3 and knight d4, and I don't think it's very much possible. So first we have to check knight before queen e2, knight takes d3, if I can grab the pawn. Don't like, I'm searching for some combination because like overpinned. Maybe instead of combination, just simple move bishop d4 and the knight is trapped. I think even this is enough. But not winning immediately. I was looking for the chance to win immediately, but not here. Not here because after bishop c5, queen d1. But maybe I'm partly wrong, but wait. Instead of knight e4, Magnus played queen c1. And Hikaru immediately went for d3. Queen c1. Queen is already misplaced. I don't like what white is doing. Maybe instead of queen c1, they had to try something different. Just queen c1. I don't like the move. I don't like how world champion is playing today. That's my personal feeling. But queen c2, queen c1. Maybe he underestimated this line, the line with the long castle, queen d7 and f5. What shall they do? E takes d3. It will be played. I'm pretty sure. I don't have any belief in e4 move. E4, bishop h3. I think bishop g4 is also good. So this pawn will be never taken back. Even don't feel to analyze this line. So e takes d3. Bishop h3. Yeah, white is outplayed. White has outplayed themselves. Black has easy play. The h pawn is rolling forward. h5, h4. White did not make any single threat on the king side, queen side. So I take black here. We will see how it goes. Till now, it doesn't look like the best day for Magnus. Everything went wrong. He took on d3. Yeah, bishop h3 has not been played yet. But after bishop h3, what? Bishop h1, as we been taught from our youth, that you have to keep the light squared bishops on board. I look at the position and I don't like my bishop on h1. Just forward. And black is rolling the h pawn. It might be finished as the complete mate. And in case of knight e4, black has a very nice choice, also h5. This knight c5, all this stuff is pretty long, and even if the knight jumps there, I just take bishop c5. I do not develop my dark squared bishop since I want to grab on c5 one. Bishop h3 has been played, and Magnus played bishop h1, not knight. Yeah, and Hikaru has a very pleasant choice. Or to come to queen f5, just to replace the queen, maybe closer to h5, or to have the threat bishop g4. Bishop g4 is also a possible move now. Simply bishop g4, and that's a very annoying pin. Very annoying pin. This is what actually Hikaru did. And the third option, which I mentioned, was h5. You see, I'm kind of losing my energy, losing my power, because you can't imagine when you're playing such a position and how you hate everything around. I believe Magnus has the similar feeling, because what to do? You are worse. You have bad pieces, and strategically worse. You have no counterplay. He played d4. He moved the pawn. He tries to create some extra chances. He wants to maybe to push d5. Look at this guy. Look at this guy on b2. Now it's time for Hikaru to decide what he wants. Maybe he wants to play bishop b4 to try to control the light squares. Because after d5, it's not only captures possible, maybe knight e5 is possible. Maybe he still wants to play h5. Maybe he feels for queen f5. Queen f5, I'm not so sure. I just said this in previous line, but queen f5, knight h4, followed by bishop c6. Queen f5, not, we decline. Maybe knight b4 and knight d5. Maybe just to put this knight and to block all the pawn structure. Maybe Magnus is going to sacrifice this pawn, but I'm really worried that there is something like this here. Of course, it might get some danger, some sacrifices, and rook jumps on b5. But you see what Hikaru maybe he listens to me. He plays bishop b4, which I mentioned, which I honestly did not very much like, because I wanted to control the bishop from a3 the c5 square, and to grab in one move on c5. But now bishop b4, there is a strategical threat, simply take on c3 and have this d5 outpost, but Magnus immediately responded d5. Of course, this is his idea. So, and of course, Hikaru did not blunder that. And we have to understand what is in his mind. I think, my bet, he wants to play knight e7. Let me check. Hikaru is thinking. Let's take a look some other options. It's knight e5, knight takes e5, f takes e5. No, this is definitely good for white, because I have knight e4 and the pawn is hanging and knight c5 is hanging. Now Hikaru went immediately for bishop c3. Now in case of dc6, it's queen d1. Very important intermediate check, and white is losing the piece. So after d5, bishop takes c3, queen takes c3, knight takes d5, and queen c4. But practically Magnus decided correctly. He had given the pawn for the long-term initiative. He wants to prove that light squared bishop from h1 simply can't cut all the long diagonal, all these light squares, so that the bishop on b2 is not as bad as it could have been. I would say I hate this bishop. What else? Bishop e6 played Hikaru. Now the knight on d5 is secured. Bishop on g4 is not hanging compared to any other line. Dear friends, I don't understand. I don't understand. Is this the play for a win or not? Or Magnus simply wants to just to finish the game or whatever. Knight takes d4. From the perspective of the play, knight takes d4. Or maybe I don't understand something. Rook takes d4. It's a strange pin. Just c6, or we say king b8, rook d1, and then c6. Is this enough compensation here? I don't see that. Rook e8, bishop f7, rook goes to e1, queen goes to c7, queen goes to b6. Everything is centralized. But while I'm talking about that, maybe Hikaru didn't like to have it. He played bishop f7. He doesn't want to Magnus to double the rook on f file. So he is ready to make his structure worse, followed by king b7. Of course, it's almost impossible to win with black with such a structure on the queen side, but at the same time, how should white win? Almost zero chance. Such a strong knight on d5, such an outpost, all the pawns are guarded. I don't think Magnus will go for this endgame. Maybe he will play some intermediate move like rook ac1, or maybe bishop g2 to have the bishop closer. But after the bishop f7, there is the threat of knight jump. I'm too weak to slow. This race belongs to the world champion. Seems Hikaru blundered the pawn. And me too. It's getting interesting. Would be very interesting to see the reaction of the Hikaru now after he played this. I think he blames himself for after knight d4 for playing bishop f7. Friends, I don't understand why don't we play knight d4. Just I don't understand. That's the simplest. Get the pawn on c6, king b8, then retreat the queen, and you have no single problem. But after bishop f7, he blunders the pawn. And this is in white's favor. It's starting to get in white's favor because finally the guy is alive. This guy on b2 is alive. Let's wait what will happen. Hikaru started to think. What is about time management? I say it's already 5 minutes versus 3. So Magnus has time advantage and Hikaru blundered the pawn back. Bishop from b2 is getting back in play. Yeah, but that's very weird. Let's go back. I'm just trying to understand how the mind, how the brain of the chess players, top chess players, is working. Hikaru, actually, he was going for this line. He was ready to change the pieces. He accepted that. However, he declined the direct exchange, and he blundered queen g4, the side check. Life is getting tougher for black. They play king b8. They did not yet. Sorry, I was wrong. But let's say in case they play king b8, queen takes g7. Bishop is hanging. And there is no normal square because the rook is also hanging. For instance, I can't play bishop h5. It's just rook d5. And I believe after bishop e6, okay, I might play bishop takes f6, of course, but also I can easily do that. Maybe this is the drawish stuff. Black might hold it for rook f8, for instance, because of such a bad pieces, bad pawn structure. Sorry, not pieces. Maybe this black might hold, but I don't think it's the case. Now situation completely changed. Hikaru is down to 1 minute versus 5. He tries to consolidate his pieces. After queen g4, he calculates. Queen d7 is definitely unpleasant because after queen d7, queen takes g7. And the queen is pinned. It was played very fast. Queen e6, queen takes g7, rook g8. Now Magnus has started to think. There are many options here. Again, as I mentioned, starting from bishop d5, but after rook d5, queen f6, maybe it's not enough. Magnus first asks himself, what is this in case I just grab on h7? This is what he's going to ask. The point that after rook h8, retreating the queen is not necessary. Instead, I can simply grab Rook can't eat on d5 because of queen h8, so rook h7, take, and this I'm pretty sure is winning because I have 3 pawns, yeah, not one, followed by king d8, bishop f6. Therefore, what is the black's idea after queen h7? Queen is a bit misplaced on h7. We all understand that. But what Hikaru wants, maybe he wants some trick. Maybe he wants jump forward. And knight e3, but I can't accept this serious, at least because I have rook d8, takes d8, and queen e4, even without calculation of f takes e3. So it's not a threat. It's just pure jump. What don't I see? Come on, friends, help me. What don't I see? Magnus played queen h6. What's wrong with queen takes h7? This is the full pawn. Queen takes h7. This is the full pawn. It was played immediately. Queen h6 in a game, followed by queen f5. I think I'm just not seeing something. Queen h6, queen f5. And bishop g2. Threatening bishop h3. And king b8. What do we have here? We have blitz. I will just the moves are coming like not one by one, but all together in some seconds. Hikaru has less than 2 minutes. Magnus has less than 3. Therefore, after bishop g2, king b8, rook d4, centralizing the rook. Rook d8, avoiding the pin. Queen d2, c6, b4, queen h5, threatening rook e2. Magnus played rook e1, rook e1, rook e1, queen e1, rook e4. They have like, Hikaru has more than 2 minutes, Magnus has 3 minutes, and they're blitzing. I don't understand what's happening, why they are blitzing, because it seems to me Magnus has spoiled plenty of like types of his advantage. Now there are no rooks on board. Queen with knight is better connected. Maybe Magnus had to think somewhere on the way a bit longer. But he believes in his endgame technique, of course, and he simply wants to outplay Hikaru in this endgame. Bishop g2, queen f5, a3, and Hikaru came to the Magnus camp. Queen d3, h4. Guys started to blitz, even having 3 minutes versus 2. h4. Stopped, finally. Oof. White is definitely better. The knight on d5 doesn't compensate all the problems with the structure. So bishop takes f6, bishop takes d5, and bishop takes f6 is the minimum which white might be hoping for. Magnus wants to advance some pawns to get some extra space on the king's side, and then already he feels to decide if he's going to grab the pawn and take on f6, or he's simply rolling the pawns forward. How would black do? Hikaru thinks now. There is no threat h5. The pawn on h7 is guarded. Bishop is guarded. The problem which I have is the maybe my king. And black also requires potentially to have some counterplay. So maybe it's king c7, king b6 to have some variant and gain this king b5. At least he has to centralize the king. Yeah, and then it's happened. King h2, some prophylaxis, and finally queen b1. Hikaru ready to play this opposite color bishop send game. He's ready to play this queen takes b1, bishop d5, c takes d5, and bishop f6. I'm not specialist in such type of positions, but I would say it looks like close drawish. So I immediately, after I'm getting this position, I immediately will play h5, not allowing white to get the pair of pawns. So for instance, in case of a free king d6, g4, I will not react. Again, maybe something else, but I will take my bishop on g6. Now after g5 there is blockade on light squares with e6 and f5. I'm not sure that there is any single hope for white to proceed. Therefore, Magnus definitely chosen after queen b1 is queen d2. He keeps the queen and bishop e4. Hikaru plays nicely. Now the knight is very secured. He's provoking Magnus to play f3. In case it will not happen, just I stopped for a second. Maybe Hikaru blundered the second pawn. I suppose it's bishop f6 and this position. What he could have been hoping for, bishop takes g2. Just explain, in case knight f6, it's queen f4. Check and knight is hanging. He might be hoping for bishop g2, king takes g2, followed by queen e4, but there is intermediate move f3 and queen is hanging. There's no time to grab the bishop from d5 on f6. Maybe he blundered the pawn on f6. Let me check. Yes, he did, and he immediately responded. He just given this pawn, king b6. There are already two blunders in a game. That's something. That's something. Queen with knight. It's pretty dangerous, and Hikaru wants to come with a king to e4. This is what he wants to do, but very strange play of black. So bishop d4, king b5, and Magnus takes another pawn. So our hungry boy from Norway, he grabs everything. It seems Hikaru collapsed. He simply starts like what is he hoping for? Bishop c5. I don't understand. This is the matter of concentration. This is what I have been talking about in the beginning of this. When you're playing Magnus, you have to be like 100% concentrated from the beginning till the end. Always. You will never get, in case you misplace something, in case you miss something, he will never give you other chance. Never. Now you see bishop on c5 is very safe, extremely safe. He guards the pawn on f2 also. Gotta play b5. He guards the pawn on f2. White's king is secured, and the only thing which has to be done is to enter the queen into the play. So I believe Magnus will play something like queen e2 or queen h6. maybe queen e2 to avoid this queen e4 checks. Even the pawn on f2 is guarded. Queen e2 looks nice. I just continue with the game. It's almost nothing to comment here. Magnus entering the camp. He wants to grab the last pawn. Not the last, but the pawn on c6. And he will definitely do that. Queen d3 has been played by Hikaru. Now the world champion tries to understand if after queen c6 he's not going to lose the pawn or the queen by the discovered check. But like I just show it like this. But of course there is after queen c6, queen e4 will be king h2. And then it's over. After queen d3, queen c6, king b3 was played, queen e6. The guys are in serious time troubles. It has been pinned. Queen. I'm not even in time to follow it. Queen c6, queen e6, queen c4, queen f5, attacking h7. Knight takes b4, bishop takes b4, king takes b4. Magnus grabs. Queen h7, queen d5, and king h2. Is there any practical chances for Hikaru? Yes, because the b pawn is rolling. He played king a3, h5 b4, h6, b3, queen check, h7. But seems to me Magnus has to be fast, so he even has some extra time to coordinate his queen. Queen a7, king b2 has been played. Now he will slow prepare and move the pawn. The only thing which you have to remember that the g and h pawn, in case Hikaru manages to exchange f on b, might give some, even with the two extra pawns, might give some surviving chances for the black in case, by the way, in case their king is in the corner. But I don't think it will happen. So queen g7, king a2, queen g5. Nice move, by the way. Queen d3, queen c5, queen e2, and pawn starts to go. I think Hikaru is about to resign. Yeah, 17 seconds versus 2 minutes. Very nice. By the way, we will take a look after the game is over. It's very nice maneuvering. Extremely nice. This geometry of the queen. Hikaru played queen b2. This I don't understand. He simply allows to go the h1 forward. What is he hoping for? Of course, Magnus played h6. b4. h7. Queen f6. Champion has a lot of time to think, so he might play queen a5 like check. No, he played simply here, b3, queen a7 check. I am not following. I just trust to his technique, and you see the speed of seeing such things, like after king b1, let's say queen a8, just to avoid even the last check. There is no check here from the Hikaru's side. So equal equality is in the match. 1.5 versus 1.5. I'm in shock. I believe everybody is in shock. If we are proceeding through this game, let's go back. Let's do it very fast. The game consisted from several parts. Opening from Magnus, nothing special. Very good play of Hikaru. Magnus sacrificed the pawn for some initiative. I don't know if it's perfect or not. If it was perfect or not. He went for this position. He came to d4. A piece is hanging. A knight is hanging on c6. Nothing special, just knight takes d4 and so on, and Hikaru blunders the pawn. That's the second critical moment. First was in the opening. Black is in troubles. Hikaru sacrifices the pawn, and Magnus, almost without thinking, he doesn't take it. I still don't understand. Please, friends, if you are using the engines and if you're following the stream, I kindly ask you to write in comments what is that? Why not queen h7? The pawn is hanging. Why not queen h7? Queen h6, which allows black to centralize. Nothing is blundered. Light squares is fixed. So Hikaru could have simply just take a look. Some moves ago. Here, after playing knight d4, rook d4, king b8, rook d1, c6, Hikaru could get almost the same position, but with a pawn on g7, And finally, he's coming to this position without pawn on g7 and without d file. And to me, it looks very strange. The guys got tired, I'm pretty sure, because Magnus not getting the pawn on h7, weird. Hikaru blundering pawn on g7, strange. Such a strange play of Magnus in the opening, also strange. So many small things is happening. It's already more than 2 hours of play, and of course they got tired. There is one game left, and we will see. We will see if they're going for the tie break afterwards. But this is the second part. Before Magnus is going for b5, counterplay is happening. Rook e2. Magnus has been forced to exchange all the pieces. Here is the second critical moment. I believe there is almost just simply, like, of course, pleasant for white. From the perspective of good grandmasters, there is almost nothing around. Just draw. It has to be draw. Painfully, yes. Weak pawn on f6. Of course, weak h pawn, less islands, pair of bishop in endgame, but queen and knight in coordination. So Hikaru did everything correct. This is what he really wanted to do. But now maybe he was a little bit too fast. He could have simply played king b6, preparing in the future to go for this queen b1. But just to do, he played queen b1, queen d2, and this is the third critical moment in the game. Hikaru blundered the pawn. He could continue something like queen d3 back, just provoking where the queen is going on. Just queen d3. He has been there. There is no single check around. Queen h6. Maybe queen f5 or even queen c2, attacking the bishop, attacking the pawn on f2. Just very strange moment, extremely strange moment, and already blunder number 2 in bishop e4. I just stopped. You remember in live transmission, I just stopped. What is that? What he wants to do after bishop f6? And I think he was hoping for this queen e4 check, but he had forgotten about the tempo of f3. Started to blitz and blundered other pawn. So here the game is over. He was searching, Hikaru was searching for some practical chances, just grabbing the a pawn and betting on his b pawn. But you know, the h4 move, which Magnus made like 20 moves ago, had simply helped him for the victory. Because with the pawn on h2, of course, most probably it's also winning for white, but they had to gain some extra tempo. But now you can just enjoy this geometry of the world champion. Check, check. Queen is almost centralized. Queen g5 threat. Queen had to go away. Now queen c5, guarding on f2 before is impossible. And the h pawn is rolling. Just slowly. h5, h6, and black is down. This is the type of Magnus chess. Here, nobody in the world will get any single chance. And just very static final. Very static final. King g2, d3, and even Hikaru gave up. I believe queen 8 would have been played. No single check, 2 queens in a corner, and complete domination, and then it's over. That's perfect. So still waiting for your questions, for your support in this transmission. And we are waiting for the game number 4. Hopefully it will be resumed shortly. I'm trying to get the live screen from the transmission of our friends' faces. But not yet. I've just got the information from our staff that there's some problems with the voice, with my voice. Hopefully not. Anyway, in current situation, in the situation where we are playing and following blitz, it's almost impossible to do anything. So let's hope it will be better. And we are waiting for the final rapid game of today. In case of draw, it will be a continuation of the blitz games. Let's guess how would Hikaru behaves, how he tired, and what is about his inner feeling after such a defeat. I would say he feels badly. He was very close, just almost to secure the victory in the match of today, and now he has white pieces in the last game. I don't know if he's going for uh, fast drawing tiebreak as he did, but you see, I was talking about Kaisa Goddess. I don't know by who and how is that happened that Hikaru got punished. Really, for such a game in a situation where he simply had almost no single problem, just nothing, and I'm all the time updating the transmission if there is something new, if the moves are coming or not, but seems they're not coming yet. The game is not started and guys are getting some rest. So back to Hikaru, he feels badly, and Magnus definitely uses his chance, random chance. I would say the chance has not been created by Magnus. Simply Hikaru allowed Magnus to win this game from nowhere. And with such feeling, it's very interesting which strategy he's going to use. If he's going to fight now or he takes a tiebreak with a blitz. I would say because blitz, there are two games, and as far as we know, with a shorter time control, Hikaru usually, as shorter timing, as better he plays. So as less minutes on clocks, as higher, not the quality, but the higher results he might demonstrate. He's extremely fast, and for instance, on one of the very famous chess portals, you can follow his puzzle rush, how fast he sees the tactics, short tactics, and also in a blitz, it's the mouse style. I would say also well known with such computer games. So let's wait for his solution. My bet, my feeling for Hikaru that it might be not so long game now. Difficult to say, but we will see. Maybe he will try to make some moves and then he decides if he's going to offer draw, if he's going to play this game, or he's going to continue with it. About Magnus, Magnus definitely is more brave now because he gained point from nowhere. For sure, he feels more energy than before that game, and he will simply await, keep waiting for the situation where he can continue the game. So I believe he will not get wild in this game, of course, but he waits, and then continues. So the game resumed. Hikaru started with e4, and Magnus is thinking. Maybe Hikaru is not there still. Maybe Magnus is not there still. Let's hope there is no problem with his internet connection. While we are waiting for Magnus, I feel to congratulate a student of mine, my good friend Arian Tari, who won an open tournament today in Italy. Well done, Aryan. Keep on going, and pretty soon he has to play versus Magnus in Stavanger in Altibox Norwich chess. That would be a very, very difficult but important challenge for Aryan's development. His skills development in serious and grown, I would say, grown up chess. Keep on fighting, and it's very good to have a good spirit before such an important event. So congrats with that. And while I was talking, yeah, Hikaru did the same as I predicted. There is even nothing to enter. It was Berlin, and absolutely same draw. What is that? So new punishment is coming or not? What is that? What shall we say about this? They're going to play. They're going to play Rapid. They're going to play Blitz now. I will just change the settings for making you watch Blitz in the correct window. Yeah, Magnus will start with white. I will have to be faster than now. But while we are waiting for the resuming of the match, what shall I say? I don't like it. Again, no fight, but in this situation, I can even understand more than before, because Hikaru had to take a risk playing with white in only one game, in the last game. So one single mistake, and it's over. Magnus is black. What's the hell he's doing in case he's continuing? No, they have 2 blitz games, 2, and for sure they're hoping for kind of one win and one draw. But anyway, there are 2 chances. So 2 games is more than 1. In case you make a mistake, you have a chance for the revenge. In case you are playing only one game in Rapid, there is no chance. So this is from the perspective of the practices, of the practical approach. From the perspective of chess, that's a bit unfair to the game, to our game. A bit unfair to spectators, but what to do? They're playing for the result. Such games simply demonstrate that chess is a sport. Even bigger sport than before. Only the result, and they don't have a lot of care about something else in this life. Hikaru got tired. He painfully lost, and continue in rapid game, as I said, was not the best choice of him. And Magnus was black. Expected result, but I would say I would simply felt to construct the match, like construct the game a little bit trying. Maybe I will get some advantage, maybe some moves forward, and then if there is nothing, then of course equality or draw. Because in this game it was simply no equality. It was just game. That's it. waiting for a blitz. I'm getting on my screen, other screen, um, the broadcast, the video broadcast uh, from their match. Waiting for the TV, not seeing the guys yet coming to play the Blitz games. Interesting which opening Magnus is going to choose for the Blitz. Usually, from my experience being on the matches, being part of the team of the matches, um, during the matches, sorry, from my personal experience, you want to continue playing the opening, which brought some success to your side. So even if it's not perfectly been done, even if it's not going like in a correct way, but c4 has been played, and I would feel also the c4 for a blitz game. I feel c4 as the decisive move, but maybe a bit different line, because I'm pretty sure Magnus is very unhappy with the opening he just played, like 100% sure. He will play c4, and then he might change for some sideline, but maybe not this b3 d3 which we've seen, maybe not this like b3 and queen c2, which looks a bit weird to me. I don't know if it was played before or not. You can check it in your databases afterwards. But maybe here it will be also b3 bishop e6, but instead of queen c2, something like bishop b2 first, provoking f6, and then maybe this d3 or e3 queen e2. So some other line from the Magnus side, avoiding, of course, this queen d7 and long castle. But we will see soon. I just believe that the feeling of the champion is to continue playing c4 after the success in one of the games. But champions are champions, so we just different. Their mind is different. Their brain is operating in a different way. So in case I would not be like giving the correct guesses, it's no problem. He will simply show his correct feeling for the move. So now I would say it's like 60 to 40 in Magnus' favor, because definitely Hikaru got tired. Several blunders in a row in one game proves that. But Hikaru very strong in Blitz, extremely strong, and they took 2 first places in the recent World Championship in Moscow. Hence, Magnus is a slight favorite because of those factors, but Blitz is Blitz. Depends on, like we usually say, in case the train is going in wrong direction in Blitz, it's impossible to stop. You can stop it on the next day. In case in Blitz it's going like badly, 1, 2, 3 games, just going badly till the end. Here, Hikaru had 2 breaks, so it was the break after defeat. He recovered, and it was a short game, and now another break where he's simply preparing for the Blitz. time runs fast. It means maybe half an hour already. He spent half an hour recovering after such a difficult games. And Blitz is like 5+3, if I'm not mistaken. It takes some extra power, extra energy. Concerning the tournament in Stavanger, let's hope it will not be cancelled. But as far as according to my information, it will be played in the beginning of October, and most of the players already signed the contract. I'm not allowed to talk about the system of the tournament, how it will be, but at least we hope to see this top tournament in real chess. You know, like players coming to the venue and seeing the normal pieces. Not many tournaments survived. Top tournaments survived this pandemic situation. Bill maybe, and nothing else. So Norway chess has been postponed several times, and also this chess party, which had to be before Norway chess in the end of September, is also cancelled. But we hope, and I hope, personally hope, that there are no more cancellations of the good tournaments and top tournaments. We just need real chess. We are hoping for real chess. So no more cancellations this year. The game is not started. Let me check. Yeah, it had to be started, but not yet. Check also your questions in the stream. No. I believe they start like in a few minutes, maybe 1-2 minutes. 18:30 is in Norway. By the way, I have no idea from which place Magnus is playing. Not sure. From Norway. But most probably, yes. In current world, it's difficult to travel. Yesterday evening, he published a video on his Instagram from his expectations of this final. He mentioned, said Hikaru is in really good shape. And we could simply see that even today. But before he smashed Daniel Dubov easily, not like without fight, of course, but 3-0 in 3 matches, 3 out of 3, versus one of the most talented players currently in the world. It's a great achievement. And Magnus said that Hikaru is perfect shape. So Bliss will be much faster, and until it's not started, I have some time to talk, to send your request to you, dear friends. Please, we are waiting for your comments, critics, suggestions, how to improve the channel, how to make the next steps, what kind of material, chess material, what kind of streams will be interesting for you. Please write us. And the blitz has started. Yes, it's plus 5 plus 3, and Magnus played d4. I don't know what is going on with this prep. After e6, he's thinking. Maybe it will not be knight c3. Yes, he played bishop g5. He just changed the setup. dc4 anyway. Now Hikaru demonstrates his preparation in this sharp line. There is only e4 move. There is nothing else. c5. Bishop takes c4. And they're coming to a typical Vienna lines. Castle. After knight d4, you have to consider queen a5 check, I would say, just to tell you. Castle, but while the guys are still in the book, we're simply following the game. Knight d5, bishop e7, knight takes e7. Yeah, this type of the positions, Magnus definitely will not take the pawn, because after knight d4, knight c6, there are just too many pieces going to be changed. Too many. He doesn't like it, and this endgame is difficult to win. After knight e7, he played knight d2, and I believe castle, rook e1, b6, playing very fast. Knight e4, bishop a6. They both don't spend any time. Hence, it's about the theory. This type of the position, I suppose, while the knight is on a6, is in slight white's favor, because they will take the pawn back on d4 in a good moment. Now Hikaru has to decide how to develop his knight from a6. This is the only critical square. White will be slightly better in case they gain the pawn on d4, because in case we are talking about the position with outposts, the front outpost, as deeper it is in your camp, d6 square outpost is better than d5 outpost. It brings some extra space, some more space. Therefore, I think the position is in slight white's favor. Hikaru started to think. I would say he doesn't like this position. I don't know what was new. Actually, it looked like absolutely known line. To me, it looks very unpleasant for black. So he will play something like rook d8, and then the blacks plays knight d5 and knight b7. He needs to get rid of this knight, or knight c7, knight b5, knight d1 automatically, and then knight c7 he played. He's going to reach or e8 or b5 square, so he simply needs to change this guy from d6. Maybe knight f5. White is slightly pressing, just slight plus, but it's not easy at the moment, because this is the slight plus for a short time, like or now or never. Maybe Magnus calculates some jumps like knight g5 at the moment, because when you have this now or never, usually it's about one move and it's about the dynamic. Playing queen e4, all right, I don't see any serious threat. Like, there is no jump, seems to me, because the rook on d1 is hanging. But queen e4 prepares knight g5, so Hikaru is accurate. He played h6, but yeah, like my hand's initial feeling is maybe to play g4 with the idea of g5 to punch as forward as possible, but g5 will be faced by h5 always, and maybe g6 then. So g4, of course, will not be played. It's just too much. Magnus played knight d4, knight d5, and f4. Yeah, slight pressure. Slight pressure. One of the knights will be changed, I believe, after knight c8, knight b5 is the idea of white, a6, knight takes c8, and knight back. So other way is to break through with f5. Maybe this is the way now. What Magnus calculates, because after f5, knight takes d6, e takes d6, queen d6, f e6, the pawn looks very, very dangerous. e7 is threatening, f7 is threatening, knight f5 jumps are threatening. So it's real danger. Maybe after knight c8, in case I would have been white in this position, I definitely consider this f5 move forward. Magnus is still thinking. 2 minutes versus 3 minutes. Magnus took on c8. Changing the knights, and then maybe he's playing f5. I believe Hikaru would grab with the queen. Rook takes c8 looks a bit weird, because the queen would have been living as the pin, and Magnus played f5. He decided to go for the same as I suggested, but I don't like it. Simply because it's easier to play, easier to decide with black. A bit less threats. Of course, he did not want to sacrifice this pawn on d6 immediately. He decided to leave the pawn on e5. So even here, it might be finished like a mate. Even here. What to do with black? f6 is in the air. f6 might be a threat. Queen c5 might be faced by rook c1. So they're about 2 minutes both. Hikaru calculates he takes f5, knight f5, but I simply show that after queen c5, king h1, there is an important threat like rook takes d5 now. Rook takes d5, then I take queen takes d5, and after queen d5 there is fork knight e7. This is the very famous trick. Therefore, Hikaru thinks how to save this outpost on d5, what is not very much easy. He played queen c5 at once. Interesting. What is he hoping for? Aha, you see, after rook c1, maybe there is a trick he wants to escape by knight f6. Yeah, but Magnus first, he grabbed on e6. We have no time to calculate this knight f6. Play f takes e6, and then he played rook c1. And now, yeah, now this is knight f6. But I think the rook and game might be almost lost then. But there is no queen move, since after any queen move the pawn is hanging, and in case of queen e7 it's knight c6. Yes, this is the trick Hikaru has been hoping for, and I predicted knight f6 move. I believe Magnus will play e takes f6, because in case of rook c5 just knight e4, rook is hanging, knight is hanging, and rook c4, I don't know, there is maybe knight c5 and knight d3, so it's unclear, but maybe even this is winning. Now Magnus calculates. He has very good nervous system, even with 1 minute left. He's simply calculating. No, he went for this endgame, rook endgame. After knight f6, ef6, he thinks it's just winning. He grabbed on g7, and Hikaru has to decide what to do. He's pawned down, but most of the rook endgames are winning, or as Ziegler said, drawish, or winning. I don't know. Especially, it depends on the opponent. When you're playing Magnus Carlsen and you're getting horse in game, you're really like you feel shaky, I would say. Interesting how Magnus continues, because the Hikaru's plays rook d2, and the idea is to double on the second rank. So rook c7, rook d2 is just played automatically, and g3. A tricky champion. You know, in case of rook f2, there is rook e6, and there is mate on e8, and there is no perpetual check because I simply coming to the rook. There is -1 tempo, black is 1 tempo down, and after g3, Hikaru grabs on b2, and I believe rook d1 is the idea. But maybe rook f7 keeps the position. After rook d1, I thought I'm winning, but no, rook f7. There's rook f7 in the air, so Magnus took the pawn first. Hikaru played rook f7. After rook f7, I'm not in time. Rook f7, king f7, rook takes e6, king g7, rook e7, king g6. Yeah, and you know, Hikaru very close to escape. So now they're blitzing extremely fast. Rook a7, b5, or rook a6. I'm not in time to get all these moves. This would actually we could easily predict. So let's just watch together without moving, because anyway it's impossible with such a timing like they do. Position is deadly drawish, and I expect that it will be Magnus will try a bit, of course, but he will agree for a draw. You're getting the moves in our transmission on the left hand side. Hikaru knows how to make such draws, 2 versus 1 with the worst pawns without any single pass pawn, and simply rook to b5, king to f6, rook to g7. The only hope of white is somehow to exchange the rooks, where king f2, rook e3, king f3, king f4, but Hikaru keeps the king on f6 and rook on a5. Immediately when the king is coming to f4, it will be rook f5 check. The problem that some opponent games are also drawish. Magnus is getting chance to come to h6 by the rook. I don't have much belief that it's possible, but he will definitely try. So he cut the king with rook on f6. Again, after rook f5, as I say, in case Hikaru is playing rook f5, it's just a drawish opponent game. Yeah, this is what happened. Rook takes f5, king f5, it's always draw. So now the white's king is also cut, and difficult to say what Magnus is hoping for. Maybe he's rook g6, king h3, rook g5, I don't know. Hikaru is just walking around. King f5, king e4. He might play rook e5. We will see. Since this is the blitz, Magnus will drink all the possible blood. as long as possible. Let's check when this happened. This happened on the last move has been pawn move 30 moves ago. I know, but finally Magnus tired from this. Yeah, he says there is no hope, and the game ended like a draw. We are waiting for the next game. I suppose somewhere after the opening, around here, Magnus was very close to have a huge advantage. In this situation, this is the correct plan. Knight goes to d4. I think maybe here my suggestion of f5 could have been more complicated for Hikaru. Just to play f5 without knight takes c. Interesting what engine says. In case you're following with the computer, please drop your comments. F5 impossible. So after f5, there is the only answer. Knight takes d6, e takes d6. What I calculate tells. If knight f6, f e4, knight e4, e takes d7, knight takes d6, this is lost for black because I have this trick, rook e7 in the end. So let me prepare for next game. Yeah, for next blitz game, transmission is ready. Magnus will be with black, and we are back to our analysis. Yeah, after e takes d6, queen takes d6, f takes e6. I believe it was something about this position where Magnus started to think. I'm pretty sure that this is the critical situation. Why did he decline this? So let's try to understand. e7 is threatening. After f takes e6, knight e6, rook is hanging, and this is the fork, so I can also take with the queen. Maybe he declined because of queen f6 first. Maybe this is the point behind. Queen b7 followed by e7. Is this the chance? Or no? Yeah, this is the chance actually, since mate is hanging. But there is the line with queen takes e6, rook e6, rook d1 check, king f2, and let's check if there is the discovered jump, the discovered check by the knight. But yes, it is, yeah. Following by the fork on c5. By the way, king e2. Oof, it's very difficult. I can understand that. Maybe he stopped somewhere here without seeing any serious achievements in his position. Because queen f3, this is another option. I'm guarding the rook on d1 and threatening e7. But maybe black might simply play rook e8. The problem that after the knight jump, it's always queen c5 check. So before Magnus played knight c8, queen c8, f5, and then queen c5, and Hikaru somehow survived. Very just such a suspicious way to survive, just very close being lost. So after rook c1, of course Magnus could not play rook c1 because of e takes e5 intermediate, I believe. So just losing the pawn. Before he took on e6, f takes e6. And Rook c1. Why not? Why not? By the way, the game has started, so let's see the final game. Yeah, Hikaru is playing. Hikaru doesn't want to play Armageddon. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, knight f6 has been played. Bishop takes c6. We are coming to this line, d3, and bishop d6. I'm used to see Magnus playing this with white, not Hikaru. Knight bd2, bishop g4. Actually, this, as Robert Fischer, Magnus Carlsen also likes to play versus the double pawns in all these setups. Bishop h5, knight c4, knight d7, like everything automatically, and knight is coming to e6. The first part of the development is over by knight on f8. Difficult to say. Knight on e6 is pretty strong. Knight f5, knight e6 has been played. I don't think white can be happy with such an opening. Maybe they're hoping for the long castle. Maybe they're hoping for g4, bishop g6, bishop e3, c5, and now Hikaru wants to come to the long castle. Knight d4 was in the air somewhere, the force c3. Maybe queen to b3 and long castle. White has improved the knight on f5. That's a very interesting idea, but black has already the full control of the center. Okay, so the bishop on d6 is slightly stupid, a bit out of play. However, it's kind of liberoid calls in football, like the perfect final last defender in the center, because it's not easy to break through, but in case you're going to open the position by the d4, it will be even more difficult to play against the pair of bishops. Queen c2, castle, long castle. Just the moves are... This game, guys, playing much faster. Long castle f6 to protect on d5, king b1, king b8, and then we have no time to understand what is the critical in the center. d4 has been played by Hikaru. Usually, I think this is just easy in black's favor. E takes d4, knight 3 takes d4. Magnus just changed knight d4, rook takes d4, bishop takes f5. All the pieces disappeared, and what we have? A slightly better structure for white, control over light squares, potential outpost on e6 in case he will manage to come to e6. King safety approximately equal, pawn is on a6, I would believe will happen soon. And bishop f4 is in the air, Magnus has to decide where to put his queen, maybe queen f4. White is slightly better, or maybe h5 actually. Maybe h5 is also the way, but h5, g5, no. Better not giving some extra options. Structure is in black's favor, but white is a bit dominating in the center. They have no weaknesses. They have good strong pieces. Actually, h5 happened, yeah. Rook h d1, h takes g4, a g4. Magnus prepared the file for his rook. Queen e7. I think we are close seeing Armageddon today. Very close. Queen a4. A bit weird move for me, but provoking some weaknesses. Magnus decided for b6. Maybe Maybe a6 would have been also interesting choice. b6, there is the c6 square, which looks pleasant, and queen from c6 controls the h1 and h file. But how much is here? Maybe slight plus. Hikaru definitely will play some a-pawn move, but I think after b6 he has to come to c6. You see how much faster they are. 4 minutes both. They're like almost without thinking, playing by hand with this speed. They both decided to control the time. Now they just started. After queen c6, there is the last exchange. So in case of bishop c5, rook d7, of course, I just will demonstrate that it's not. Black could have been hoping for something like that, but queen takes d8 after bishop c5. It's mate, but white is faster. White, instead of all this stuff, immediately will play rook c7. There is no single check, and I'm threatening to c7. Yeah, bishop e5 has been played by Magnus. Rook d7, as I promised. Rook takes d7, rook d7, and jump forward, queen b4. Come on, the mate in one. When you see mate in one in a blitz, I'm a bit amazed and surprised by Hikaru. Why is he playing so fast? At least he could think like some extra minutes. Seems to me like he blundered. Yeah, bishop c1 will be played, I believe. I don't see any other check. Then it's pawn. Pawn is pawn as far as we know. Even in Africa. He blundered queen b4. He blundered after bishop e5. What's the reason to blitz rook d7 in one? How much? Yeah, rook d7. 3 seconds it's written. Why rook d7 in 3 seconds? What is this? Queen b4. And now he started to think, yeah. Ah, but you see, they're tactically they're amazing. Yeah, bishop d4. Bishop d4. I did not consider this move. Yeah, your commentator is also getting tired. Bishop d4 is pretty easy, and it was possible to see. It was clearly possible to see. Now Magnus has to think, but yeah, bishop d6. Nothing happened for him. Bishop is still hanging on d4. Hikaru will move the queen. Don't know where yet. Maybe to e4, just to prevent all the threats. There is no single check on e1, and pawn on g7 is hanging. Bishop d4, such an amazing move, which we all blundered. Maybe Magnus will play bishop e5 back. What is possible as far as I understand. Magnus played queen a4. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Like I'm talking, and then just queen a4 double threat. This is Magnus. There is no mercy in chess. He simply threatened to d1 and threatened to d7. Double threat, and mate is coming. This is blitz, this is chess, and all my speech like light squares, active rook, bishop to d6, by sure the tactics, as usual in blitz on such a level, everything decided by the short tactics. I was amazed. I did not like how Hikaru played, but I was amazed when he found this bishop d4 move. Really, looks amazing. Bishop d6. Magnus simply guarded, and yeah, situation was already not so easy for Hikaru. he had plenty of time. He played queen e4 after, queen e4. He spent 20 seconds, and he was about 3 minutes already. Yeah, so he just played queen e4 again without thinking. He could, in case this is about the feeling of danger. In case the feeling of danger, he could continue something like that, provoking Magnus to grab on g4. I think that would happen. Grab on d6. Yeah, but this is already lost because there will be no perpetual check with queen f5 intermediate check. Queen f5, king c1, c takes d6, and I'm simply coming to d8, and in case of queen a8, it's queen c8. So my idea with bishop c3 and rook takes d6 is not working. Then we have to say maybe Hikaru is already in trouble. Because in case his move, like other move, queen d5, it's also queen a4. And it's also queen d1 mate. Everything is hanging. Ooh la la. Too many threats? Bishop is misplaced. And the pawn on g4 will be lost. Any idea, actually any idea, maybe queen c3. Aha, by playing queen c3, I'm just trying to search if there is any single chance to somehow to save the game. But no, even here not, because after queen a4, rook h1 is the mate. Yeah. So we just have to come to this position and to say that all this stuff is about the feeling of danger. Hikaru played very fast. He tried to control the situation. It was slightly pleasant for him first, but then on this speed, he somehow a bit outplayed. He did not feel this harmony of the pieces. He misplaced the rook on d7. It looks amazing on d7, but somehow it turned to be misplaced. And there is no coordination. Now he simply, okay, he blundered, of course, but he did not feel the moment where he played wrong. And again and again, we are amazed by the world champion. He will never forgive any single small mistake. He keeps the concentration better than anyone in the world, and he's simply waiting for such a moment. Definitely, he might lose, make the mistake, and so on. He's the human after all. But in general, kind of inner power inside for the long-term games in long-term pressure situations is his amazing quality. We just have to congratulate Magnus Carlsen. Now the score in the match is 1-1. They're playing up to 4 victories. The next match is tomorrow, and just we wish good luck to the world champion. He deserved this victory today because he did not resign even in a very difficult situation, difficult moment, -1 worst position, but he sacrificed the pawn. He continued searching for the chances, so he was really fighting for it. And in the end, I have to say, I don't know if you believe in God, if you like Americans, in God they trust. It's written. If Hikaru believes in chess goddess Kaisa, but such a fast draws is against of chess nature. And I would say maybe such a blunder, final blunder by the black goddess, black queen on board, is the punishment for those two white draws. Maybe Hikaru is going to regret tonight. Of course he's going to regret tonight. But we are, as the chess lovers, really ask him to play with a full power all the games, even against the world champions. So I think on this final wish we stop the stream for tonight. Thanks for being following me and the channel Chesny Hot, which is translated from Russian like the fair, honest move, and chess is chess in all the languages. Follow us, send your messages. We are waiting for your likes, and see you with some new material and with other streams in English and Russian languages. Thanks for tonight. Good luck to everyone.